I've been calling it shamanic sound because there's a lot of animals and transformative energies that come through. But basically, I had no idea. It's not something I went to school for, really. And so these sounds come through, and then 4 or 5 years ago, I started to feel like there were words that wanted to come through, messages, kind of like when you used to like hear the knock on the door, or feel like, like, wait, someone's right there about to ring my bell. So I felt that pressure of incoming, like we want to send you some words, but I danced around with that for about a year, trying to figure out if that was safe and who was trying to talk through me. And in that dance of learning about protections, I started calling in four of the archangels for protection before channeling. And lo and behold, some of those angels started speaking through me. And it took me a little while before I realized it was because I had called them. Like if you kept calling a friend on the phone and then you were surprised that they were the ones who were speaking to you. So I do channel other beings, Lemurians and some other beings, especially here in Sedona. I've been speaking to some of the galactic beings in the area, cautiously kind of learning about them. But with the angels, I feel so confident about their worldview, their agenda for us, and so I love to channel angels when it's something public. I'd say mainly when I'm channeling in the public realm, it's with the angels because I know their love for us. I know their messages, and I feel really comfortable in that sphere and protected by them.
Yeah, it does feel particularly, I will say that I always feel very safe, during your channelings, and it feels like it's just a very gentle and very, the message that come out are very, very of a high, high level of consciousness, but also kind of, ki- they're very deliberate. It feels like. um there, I don't feel like anything comes through that's really not absolutely meant to come through for whoever's listening.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. That's my main prayer, other than calling the angels in, is that I can put aside whatever's in me that doesn't need to be in the way. My own opinions or thoughts about any questions someone might ask. What my intelligence or my brain might answer. Put that aside and have the intent to let the angels speak. It's really that's who we're here to learn from. And sometimes I share my stories, but then I'm clear, okay, it's me talking.
Right, I have noticed you do that. Yes,
So,
you'll say, this is Adria, this is yeah, which is really, I like that kind of, yeah, I kind of like that interplay. So this topic that you brought up, I thought was very,
yes.
very important. So let's go ahead and dive right into that. Yeah, and actually, I'll let you go ahead and start with it and kind of talk about how this came about and why you think this is important at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed, and it started out, the angels have been talking a lot about dimensional shifts. It started out in that arena where the angels started to say, third and fifth dimension, there's people choosing to be in both right now on Earth, and it becomes increasingly difficult to talk to each other. So you have to be very intentional when you're talking to someone who's in a different dimensional reality right now. And then I really saw that. I think it's playing out most obviously in politics and the issue of masks or no masks or those kind of things, vaccines or no vaccines, where so all of a sudden it used to feel like we were having conversations and now it feels like we're not talking to each other anymore, right? Like people are so fixed in their worldview, whatever it is. And it feels like the stakes are so high right now, whether they are or not, I don't know. But it, it feels like that to a lot of us, right? Like this is life or death. And so how do you lovingly navigate that then? um especially because it's probably your friends and your coworkers and your neighbors who have different worldviews than you. So, gosh, how do you navigate that? So that's the topic for today. Just something I notice so much, and I feel probably, as we come closer to the election, it gets a little more heated as well.
Yeah, especially, close, like you said, sometimes it's close friends, it's close family members, people that have been in your life for a very long time, and you love each other, and yet a very seemingly innocuous topic might arise, and it's well-meaning, and it's, from a place of looking, protecting you, or, but I know that that's a big thing. It's like, how do you still hold that space of love, knowing that that's what we are. That's all there is love, in truth, without kind of going into that worldview, like you said, that kind of worldview that doesn't really kind of match with the evolution of love and of our planet, and kind of where we're headed. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what the angels have to say. And yeah.
Yeah, so let's ask them. So as one of us mentioned, or both, I'm a conscious channel of angels Ariel and Raphael, so they'll let you know who's speaking at any given time. This is Ariel, Angel Ariel. Yes, so it's beautiful that those of you who have come to be on this call or to listen have the openness to ask this question. Not question, in other words, is not how do I convince others to my worldview, but how do I embrace the fact that we're living in a polarized time, and not perhaps try to change the people around me, but love them in the skin that they're in right now. How many times have you been wrong about something, with utter conviction, followed some cause or some being and felt quite hoodwinked later. So maybe you're the one who's wrong here, maybe you're the one who's right, or maybe there is absolute truth on both sides. That's something that's not often considered here. From the angelic perspective, we see quite a lot of truth in both aspects of the polarities here. And they fundamentally are two different polarities here, even though they're dancing out through different themes, as you have discussed here. But from the human perspective, then, from the perspective of the loving heart, how do we still embrace the fact that there are other humans living in the world that have different viewpoints, who would fight maybe to the death to defend those viewpoints? So you're on the other side of this mind game battle now, but you don't feel like killing anyone or doing battle over it. If you're on this call, you have the openness to think, is there some another way we can navigate this? To passionately disagree, to with passion, with love, disagree with each other, or and here we would advocate, suggest that just avoiding the issue is not the answer. It's too large. So to try to just declare, oh, we're not going to speak about anything that we disagree about in this call, mom or sister or friend or work colleague, we're just going to talk about peanut butter sandwiches and the weather, and that's it. Well, you don't get very far with that, right? It's more comfortable at first. It feels like a nice solution, but then the growth moment potential is lost there. So we would suggest don't really attempt to steer away from the hot topic issues. It's not that you have to bring them up every time, but avoidance is not, we would say, the answer here. So if avoidance of topics or avoidance of people is not the answer, what is it? This is Raphael, Angel Raphael. So, in the compassion of your heart, you have seen there are all kinds of people in this world. And for most of you, it never bothered you. There are small people, some of them are grown, some are children. There are tall people, there are Black people, there are white people, there are people with long hair and short hair. So, why should it be any more dramatic to have people with different viewpoints? viewpoint is something that's very often changeable and changing. Your own viewpoint's changed since yesterday, at least somewhat on some things. So it's like you're trying to catch some moment of a kaleidoscope and say, this is wrong. This thought floating through your head, this belief you have, it's wrong. And therefore you are wrong and the world is wrong. You're taking it too serious, loves. You're taking it too serious. In this moment, we would advocate for lightheartedness because there is so much seriousness going on in needing to declare that my view is right, and that if I don't help you to understand why I am right, you're going to fall off a cliff, or you're going to make the world so uncomfortable for me, and I need to protect my way of life, and you're in the way of it. None of this is true. The stakes are different than you imagine at this time. So just pull back, we would say, and see people as these beautiful, colorful expressions of the kaleidoscope of ideas, of opinions, whirling around and changing all the time. So your own political views are changing, perhaps not so fixed as they once used to be. So acceptance, accepting people right now how they are, knowing they likely will change, as will you. But also we want you to have this insight, perhaps perspective, insertion of a perspective from the angelic viewpoint here, worldview, is that those issues which are at the forefront right now in the media and in most often in your conversations with friends and so on are not really the important thing that's going on right now. So if that's not really the important thing that's going on right now, then it must not be a life or death battle. And from our perspective, it is not. The issues that are striking at the heart of the polarity right now are not so dire, not so one-sided as they seem. So we do caution you, ask you, advise you to not take it so seriously. Instead, take the people seriously. Treat the people with gentleness. That's a human being in front of you you're arguing with. That's a human heart. And do you remember how many times in your childhood or young adulthood or even adulthood where 2 words or 4 words that someone said to you struck and hurt so deep that you're still living, like walking around avoiding that hurt place in yourself? So don't you be the instrument of hurt for others around these seemingly hot topics, seemingly so important right now. Let's put humanness as the most important thing because it doesn't have a polarity. It has a lot of different colors, as we've seen, as we've said, but it doesn't have a polarity. So when you're talking to a person, you're not talking to something that has an opposite. You're talking to a beautiful living creature with a heart and shifting viewpoints and shifting landscapes of ideas and opinions. That's what's precious here, the heart of that person. So protect that if you feel like you need to protect something right now. Um, let's let the issue of your worldview or the circumstances you want to protect get a little softer in the background here. Yes, of course, you can still write signs and advocate and vote and all those things. And let's put the human heart as most important, more important than those things.
Mm. That just feels so resonant. Now more than ever, there's such a call for kindness. You know, something so simple like kindness. You know, the mind wants to always look for something higher, something bigger, something more complicated, because that's what helps us feel special and important in the world and have a purpose. That it's so easy to forget something so simple as kindness. Kindness to ourselves and kindness to others. And I realize it really starts with ourselves. If we can be kind to whatever shows up in our experience, then it's much easier for us to then offer that. to whoever comes into our space. So yeah, I thank you for, if you're going to protect something, it's the heart. I think you said, you know, there's so much seriousness. And I completely agree with that. It's just so much seriousness. And so there's really a call to kind of move from seriousness to sincerity, to, a more playfulness. And like you said, if you're going to be serious, be serious with someone's heart, or be serious with someone's heart, like about how you're interacting. But again, first and foremost, it's that kindness to yourself. So thank you. Yeah. What else? Anything else?
This is Adria. I was just thinking about remembering this moment from years ago, gosh, maybe 7 years ago. So quite a while ago, I was having a low moment that was more in my personal life at that time. And I was out at the grocery store, and someone smiled at me as I was leaving the grocery store. And that literally is what turned it around for me in that low point. I think, I don't remember what the circumstances were. I was in some kind of severe depression, and that's what snapped me out of it. Someone smiled at me. It's not someone I knew. I don't remember what her face looked like, but I remember the energy of that moment. It totally transformed me. And I know for myself, and just anecdotally from my friends and family, like so many of us are facing, just it feels so oppressive, so heavy right now in the heart. And maybe not always, but these waves of it, for whatever reasons, they're varied, but there's a lot of heaviness right now. So this is new. This is the first time that the angels have given this message through me. So I'm just digesting it at the same moment too. I'm just noticing how much that one action, someone smiling at me, made an impact at a time when I was really suffering, and how many of us are really in that state of suffering on and off right now, whether it's through the global circumstance or whatever reason. There's plenty of them out there right now. Wow, I love this idea of being like a political activist by just loving people. Smile at someone in the grocery store. That's the new assignment. You really never know.
That is so funny that you say that about this something so simple as a smile and a hi. Like I live in the Bay Area, and there's a pretty large population of people here. And this is California, in California. And I had this exact experience. Actually, it was maybe a couple weeks ago, and it was one of those days where it was very heavy, and people, it's very rare, I have to be honest. I mean, if you go out walking around here, it is extremely rare for someone to say hi to you or smile at you. I mean, it's really a special thing, because most people are very it's a busy lifestyle. And I was walking, and I remember it was like this heaviness, and this woman turns and she was like, "Good morning," and it just, I mean, I remember turning and looking, and I was so surprised. And it just, I mean, it was like this huge like spark. It was like, "Oh, good morning." Like something so simple was just this same. I had the exact same experience. It completely turned around the entire day. And so after that, I've been trying to make a point. I mean, simple things like you go to the grocery store, if you live somewhere, maybe you live where there's not that many people, or somewhere that is more congested, you could say. Something so simple like a smile. So yes, thank you for bringing that simplicity. Well, I'll put this out there. If anybody would like, Adria is actually offering to answer questions to the angels for you. So if anybody wants to, and I haven't done this before, if anybody wants to just put in the chat, if you have a question, or if you raise your hand. I guess I can't really tell if somebody raises their hand.
Yeah, well, that while people are thinking about if they have questions, it feels like there's another message coming in from Raphael. So I'll give you time to form your thoughts, your questions. This is Raphael, Angel Raphael. Yeah, so it is a moment for kindness, certainly, and unconditional love, certainly. So wherever you can be on that spectrum, even if it's just politeness, even if your teeth are on edge and you're that person's wearing the other political color or affiliation hat, whatever it is, just, even if all you can manage is politeness, start there, start there. You don't have to enter into discussion, even just enter into your heart and see the humanity there. See, because each of you in this case, people on different political sides, are genuinely striving to protect humanity's way of life. So you're fighting for the same thing. So be in that space wherever in the spectrum of love you can be, wherever you can let it carry you. This might be your moment through this uncomfortable time to learn unconditional love for the first time. Maybe this whole drama of worldview and political experience was gifted into your lap, into your lifetime, so that you could learn unconditional love. So take that opportunity if you seek that.
Yeah, I really feel that. I really feel that, and I receive that. Thank you. We have Tracy is asking a question. Tracy, is it okay if I unmute you? Maybe, okay. And do you want to go ahead and ask your question to Adrian?
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Yes? Okay. My son has a bit of a different processing situation involving communication and just differences. When him and his sister arrived, I treated them like kind of the light children that I thought they would be, and did my best to love them, and did different things than I was raised. Allowed them to be seen and heard. Didn't vaccinate. Fed them differently. Tried higher vibrational tools. The one thrived, and one really didn't. So at this particular point, he's 19, and he has what they call, and I'm not using a label to label him, rather to inform you. He has what they call sort of a just right OCD. So he focuses on the fact that I haven't said things right, and it's not right, and we can't really move beyond it. And it's sort of a stuck point now, because you can't really move on to other realms of communication with him. And I realize that there's different timelines. I realize that there's some Atlantean potentials around throat and communication between him and I. And I really would just like, from your perspective, how else can I view or be within this situation that would allow it to be easier or more graceful?
Yes, this is Raphael, Angel Raphael. So we have a few layers to offer here of perspective. One is a bit of a joke for you, dear, because you have striven so well to protect yourself from discordant views or media, things like this that you think would be harmful to you and your children. Out of love, of course, created this beautiful, healthy, safe zone bubble. And now here is your child come and personifying for you exactly what's going on in the media sphere. This, oh, you said the wrong word. Oh, yeah. We're going to censor that. Nope, 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 nope. You have to say it this way. So thing for you to shift your perspective just a little here is to see you really cannot avoid fully what's going on in the world. So embrace this chance to see how much your son is really the spokesperson here of what's going on, what is a little wrong in the world right now, this constraint around ideas and communication, speech particularly. So that's just one thing to notice, not to really take action on, but it's a bit of a joke from your guides to you that you did your best to keep the, the world outside and it came right into your home. So
Exactly.
that's
Yes.
something for you to embrace and enjoy and know, oh, okay, in this instance, we're not talking about the whole of your life, but in this instance, it's time to embrace that and face it because it's here. So and then speaking on another layer with your son, you know, we can have compassion because in many ways we're all, humanity is all doing the same thing a little bit right now in trying to gently prod people towards our own worldview. So maybe it looks softer in most people, but the way your son is communicating right now is how most people are being with each other. So
Mm.
what again, the antidote there is to love people without censorship. So for you to the struggle or the edge, the learning edge there is to love him without censorship or trying to fix how he expresses his divine will, his heart right now. But to us, your son is really just communicating, is a conduit for what's so strong in the human consciousness right now is that we have to edit this, we have to make it right. So both sides or many sides are doing this right now. So we do anticipate, this is Raphael, Angel Raphael, we do anticipate that for your son, when this shifts for humanity, which is quite soon, it will shift in him as well. He's a little bit of a antenna for the communication of the worldview of humanity at any given time. So you're going to see him shift quite a lot over the course of his lifetime. And to you, just as a personal insight or inside joke from your guides, let it be, he's like your television to the world. He's like your input about what's going on with the more public face of humanity right now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Adria. And we have Diane. She's asking about anxiety that is mingling in the heart along with the love and vulnerability. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
I personally feel this a lot right now, the anxiety, and well, we'll see what the angels have to say on this also, but I just want to share the perspective here from humans in this time of so much change. The anxiety isn't all about the things that are so obvious, you know, the pandemic, the politics, the what might happen in the future with the elections. There's also so much change happening on an energetic level um, that we can feel in our energetic field, even if we don't know the words for it or no one's talked to us about this, particularly what's going on. So I'm personally feeling a lot of waves of this in the last few weeks, particularly anxiety and overwhelm both, because there's something energetically in me that absolutely knows that my whole world has shifted, has changed. So it's dramatic, and yet it's can be confusing if you're looking with your eyes or through the media. Say, well, what did change? Why am I feeling so much anxiety? It's a perception. Your perception is accurate, is what I'm trying to say. That it's that very human response to change, and the very energy itself, the earth herself, is changing so much right now, so rapidly. It's a little hard to catch our stillness, catch our breath, because as soon as we find a still point, like an hour later, it changes again. So um, you're right on track if you're feeling anxiety. It's not a symptom, most likely, that there's something wrong in you, but that you're perceiving, you know, how much the world is changing. This is Ariel, Angel Ariel. Yes. So for all of you here, your world is shattered, really, and we're not talking about the politics or the even the whole circumstance of pandemic and the restrictions that has brought for many, most of you. We're talking about the energetic construct you've been living in your whole lifetime here. And for those of you who are here in other lifetimes, in those past lifetimes. So the habit of knowing what Earth feels like is very strong. You know what that channel sounds like, what it feels like. And it just changed quite a lot. And from angelic perspective, it changed for the brilliance, for the good. So it's a beautiful, beautiful time to be human because such amazing waves of energy of change are coming in. And from our perspective, for the most part, they're very, very friendly, very, very positive for humanity. And they're very, very strong. So if you feel your world has shattered, then the mind looks around to say, well, why is that? It must be because of the pandemic. That's a good enough reason. The world is certainly different than I've known it. But we would say most likely something deeper than that, at least in addition, but probably predominantly so, is that energetically you are feeling the waves of change. And this is, again, from angelic perspective, quite lovely, quite brilliant for humanity. And things will not be the same in the best possible sense. And it will be a little while before those energies calm down. There's still more work of transformation afoot here. So it's not a time to judge yourself for, I feel so anxious. What am I not doing right? It's a time to just acknowledge, all right, well, when I'm in the turbulent ocean, the water around me is moving so much, of course I feel a little off balance, a little like I've got to pay attention at every moment. Where is the ground beneath me? So these are very, very practically speaking, very normal responses to the energies right now. So it's not for most of you that you have some new anxiety disorder, or that something is so wrong in the world that your guides or yourself, higher self, or other selves are trying to alert you to. It's that you're just aware how much change there is and it feels off balance. It's all right. It's going to be that way for a little while. But we do tell you again from our perspective, these waves of change are quite good. They're bringing in the freedoms, the delights you've been waiting for all of these lifetimes.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that answers Diane and Tracy. Thank you for asking your questions because I think they're very pertinent. And I wanted to add, I actually got a message last night because I think it resonates with both of the questions and also what the angels just said. And it has to do with the way that we receive our experience, whatever it is. And so what I wrote down was, when we reject a part of our experience as something threatening or something that should not be happening, it gets relegated into the subconscious and unconscious mind. And the subconscious mind controls around 90% of our behavior until it's invited into our consciousness, not into a mental dance routine, but simply into consciousness. We then gain the upper hand through conscious command of the totality of our experience. Our life is no longer run by unknown or unconscious forces because they've all been invited into our consciousness. They all have permission to be part of our consciousness. This is sovereignty. It's a free will that's no longer conditioned and programmed. So I feel like that also is very much in alignment with what you just said, Adria, with, it's really a call right now to kind of not have that duality anymore, or say that things need to be this way, or people should be this way, or, this person needs to be, or I should be feeling this and I should not be feeling that, right? So, wow. Yeah.
I love that. I love how you voiced that. As it's different than I've heard it, but it definitely it's ringing very true to me. I mean, just different words, different ways of looking at the same apple. And that just sounds so true to me. I'd have to say, in experimenting with what to do when the energies are, I'm feeling the anxiety and the energies are so high. the thing that's worked the best for me has been accepting. So yeah, not trying to meditate it away or come out of anxiety into stillness, but really facing it, being very, very conscious and present with whatever it is, and just allowing that. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't like it, but I accept it and love it for what it is and how it is, and that's allowed those anxieties and waves of the deeper um, feelings of overwhelm or dark and whatever flavors to pass through the quickest for me. So ironically, it's the accepting, really looking at, being conscious it's there and not asking it to go away. For me, that's made it move on the fastest. The more I try to protect myself from whatever the strong feeling it is, depression or anxiety, fear about something, or just fear, unnamed fear, the more I try to, like, I got to hold it together, the worse it is for me. But when I can just sit with it on the couch, or, crawl up and ball on the floor, whatever it is, and be like, okay, well, here you are, here I am. Let's talk about it. What are you trying to tell me? And it just moves. It moves. That's beautiful.
I completely agree. And you said something that really resonated so much. Something about, I don't know if you said it this way, but I received it like stillness. Even this fixation on we have to be still. I realize even that idea is a moving target.
Yeah, that's not
Even
happening these days.
yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, even stillness is like a movie, it's like being able to be still if that's what's called for, but also being open to the more dynamic flow that also may want to come as well. um, so there is another question, but I do want to let everyone know that you actually are doing something to provide more help, because yes, this is very helpful, but I think many of us need additional support to be able to kind of navigate this topic. Can you talk about what you're offering and how you can support people further here with actually a
Oh,
very
yes.
specific thing? Yeah.
Thank you. I completely forgot about that. Yes, I just started a new course. So it's an online video course at the next 3 Saturdays, so 2 hours, starting at noon Pacific. And it's called Radical Freedom. So it's going to be taking a deep dive into some of the topics that seem to be the most challenging, or kind of a learning edge right now. One of them is around money. Is it possible to not live so much through that construct? In other words, make freer choices. This Another of the three in the series is around this topic we're talking about today, and it's called freedom from fear. But so when others are in fear, how can we be in love and still acknowledge their humanness, their beautifulness, but not need to downshift into fear ourselves? And the last topic is around freedom of mind. So how much conditioning, we might be aware of it or not, but how much there's a play for what should be our sovereign mental space right now. So some practical tools to navigate that. Yeah, so you could find out more. My website is wingsound.com, WINGSOUND.com. So yeah, thank you.
Just put that in the chat there. So definitely look that up, because I have done some group things with you, and they've just so helpful, so supportive, and the exchange is so reasonable. So there shouldn't be, I shouldn't say shouldn't, but but it's very reasonable exchange financially. So I would definitely look into that for this support. I think we're really, any support that you can be willing to receive right now is going to kind of activate and open different doors for the angels to be able to communicate with you. So, it's being able to open, to receive, to share. It's very important right now. So there's another question here.
Yeah.
How can educators help young adults, this is a good one, at universities now who are confused, but who maybe have not yet had an opportunity to perceive their spiritual sense? I appreciate that question because I have a teenage daughters, so that's great.
And this is Ariel, Angel Ariel. So to put it succinctly, like a bumper sticker, a slogan, question authority. That's what we would say to try to gently communicate to those that aren't really wanting to speak about spiritual topics, but are noticing that there's something that requires their attention and they just feel uncertain about what to do next. So we would say the message to them is question authority. So we're not talking here about rioting necessarily. Peacefully, that might be all right sometimes. But so, in other words, we're not taking this question on the level of political activism, but we are saying it's time for the young people and those of all ages. But because you asked specifically about this group, it is time for them to begin to question what's going on in whatever to them is coming down as authoritative information or the authoritative rule of law, just to question it. So simply to encourage, perhaps in the way you teach your classes, maybe you could lecture on a topic and then ask the students in your class, all right, well, who has another opinion about what I just said? So you're opening for them this ability to understand that learning can be more than, well, if you just repeat what I just said, you'll get an A on the test. That learning can be, okay, here's one way of looking at it. What's another way? And then challenge them again with, well, I need at least 4 other different opinions because I don't think we barely touched this topic. So this could be a game, that has nothing to do with what subject matter you're teaching, but just play the game with the children, the young adults in your care of who's going to question me, because I welcome that. Right now you're representing to them the authority. So please question me, is what you can say to them. So they can try that on and feel it's safe. And at least within the confines of their own mind, their own heart, begin to feel that's a fun game to play. Oh, okay, that's what someone just told me. What else? Do I feel that way? Does that sound true? Or would it be fun to scavenge the internet and social media and find 5 different opinions? Even if a few of your students catch this kind of craze for delight in finding multiple opinions about the same subject, that's going to do more for shifting the next layers of society than just about anything else.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's been a big thing too here in our home is I'm always telling my daughter, because she's very obedient, and she does whatever her teachers tell her. And I am always like questioning, like, okay, well, question, like, check in. Does that feel right for you? You don't have to do, you don't have to do what they say just because, the teacher said if that doesn't feel, if that doesn't feel quite right, like, question that. And so that's a very good question. Thank you, Marian, for asking that.
This is Ariel, Angel Ariel. And, you can take this game into your own home, into your own heart as well. And it could help to soften some of this polarity we were speaking of. Because if you share your viewpoint with a colleague or a friend or a family member, and then you're excited to know, what are the other viewpoints on this? Wow, that conversation could be so much more fun than a battle of wills, right?
Imagine that. Let's imagine. let's imagine where you can have a conversation and, both sides are curious, you're curious. The other side is curious as to how you feel and what you think instead of just, this is how it is. And here's all the data. And here's the 10 reasons why this is exactly how it is. And I need you to hear the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thank you.
That's sure what I learned in school about how to communicate, right? Oh, supporting arguments.
Oh man, that's so refreshing. If there's no more questions, we'll start wrapping it up here. But is there any last messages that the angels would like to communicate with all of us before we part? And I also just want to say I'm just filled. I just feel so much gratitude and lightness, and the support. Let's all create this possibility of really opening up to new wisdom, new energy, something that comes from a deeper place within us. So I'm very open to hearing the final message from the angels.
Beautiful. It feels like this is going to be a little bit of a meditation or some guided energies here. This is Adrien. So this is Ariel, Angel Ariel. Yeah, so we invite you to listen in that mode. So now not so much in the intellect, but more in the heart here, to listen to the words here in a sensory way. We are inviting your heart to be open to the hearts of all humankind, to see them as precious and rare. Beautiful, beautiful hearts. And when you are interacting in the grocery store line or with a family member on a phone or whatever it is, to see first the precious human heart, all of those hearts around you. It's so rare. The human birth is so rare and precious to us. And we ask you to see the world through our eyes for a moment and the preciousness of each human heart. And can you treasure that and protect that above all else, above any opinions of mind or disagreements, even when you feel them so deeply in your soul? Let the heart, the preciousness of the heart, come up here into the forefront. Let that be what's guiding your conversation or even just your reflection of those around you, whether or not you speak with them. Maybe it's just those you're watching on television if you're keeping yourself in your home right now, or those you're interacting with on the phone or seeing walk by on the street. Can you perceive in that person first the delicious, delightful, unparalleled human heart, that crystalline core of their being that is so, so precious to the angels? And if it's so precious to the angels, maybe it's something that I could take notice of. What is this human heart? And why is it so precious? And can I lead my daily experience from that place? Especially now, especially when there's so much going on in the mind and the emotions, the exterior emotions. What's in the core? And that is a still place. The unconditional love of the gorgeous human heart is one of the only still points in the chaos of all these energies. So if you are seeking stillness and gentleness right now, look for it in the human heart, in your heart and others' hearts. So play with us, practice when you remember, when this comes to mind, whether it's challenging or a graceful day, just see all of those human hearts around you. That is a truth that doesn't have a polarity, it doesn't have a battle plan. It just is.
Thank you, Adria.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Really
And
a
thank
delight
you.
to be with all of you.
It really is. I mean, thank you to everybody who's here. It makes it all, every single being, you know, your presence affects the whole, and it means a lot. And so, with great appreciation and many blessings, we may you open your heart. Thank you to all the comments and the blessings in the chat. Yeah, let's keep our hearts open and be open to different perspectives. That's really the mandate, I think, right now. And just when it gets to be too much, don't be afraid to ask for help. We have a biological mandate to connect and to co-regulate. So we do not have to do this alone. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.